I can promise you that I'm not here that often, but we've got ourselves a 93 wagon, 940 Turbo Series, but that's not the exciting part. It looks like this model particularly took a little tumble off the cliff. Lord of the Rings reference there. This has a particularly important piece for me, the electric fan. It's a wider radiator, but everything else is there, so it's ready for me to pick and pull. If you remember last time I was getting an electric fan from the Junkyard, there was another Type 2 or Type 3 behind us. It was orange. Crazy! Alright, let's get to work. She was a nice car indeed. Well, I know exactly who this car belongs to. I couldn't get all of it off, I guess, but that's the juvenile local Volvo Boys Club. So you tell me what happened. Almost got him, Batman. Can't pass up another opportunity to verify what I was saying earlier about those rubber pieces there. They all kind of get squished. You know it happens with age. So if you ever have to pull your camshaft off for anything, that would be a great time to change those guys out. It would seem the fastest way to lower your 740 to show stance, as they call it. Just pull the wheels off. Mad rake, bro. Sick angle. The ultimate in weight reduction. I do say she was a beautiful car when she was new. Of course, the headliner has this tendency of peeling off and people just pull the whole thing. And it looks like that. The only useful thing I could upgrade on my 240 from this is these headrest cushions. They're gonna fit the same without a problem on my 93. There are like two styles of headrests, ones that curve like that, and the other straighter, more pointy A style. By A style, I just mean they were kind of in the shape of an A. She was a good car. Odometer never saw past 111. Rest in peace in, what do they say, Valhalla? Yeah, that one. I keep telling myself, I'm only going to change the water pump. I'm only going to change the water pump. I'm only going to change the water pump, timing belt, camshaft, electric fan, motor mounts. Water pump.
Does your family and your friends, do they know?
Do-de-do, just got off of work, time to go home. Oh no, look. What's this? Oh, that sucks. Good timing. Our culprit is the wire. Disconnects it from the back of the compressor, the top of the compressor. That little guy, see that green wire down there? There's a little junction that connects, that wire connects to, and it goes to this little green wire here to engage the compressor clutch. I'll see if I can fix it, but it took part of the plastic housing with it. That's not good. If we think really hard, we might be able to make one appear. Good job, everybody. 2 minutes later. Trash. This is also a great time for me to change my coolant. As you can see, it's pretty filthy. Kind of looks like an eyeball. Cool. Anyways, so my water pump had, if you remember, something that looked like a coral reef growing out of it, which means that those seals have leaked and then somehow sealed themselves, probably with calcium from the hard water or something. So that'd be a great time for me to put in some fresh coolant with some fresh water that's not calcified tap water. While you're poking around on there, check the wires on the back of the alternator. There's the power and the little signal for your dashboard, and there's also the oil pressure sensor. Those 3 wires are subject to a lot of heat being this close to the manifold, and they will fray, crack, break. So if you have your oil light on or your amp light, or you're just not getting an adequate charge, you can check the ground cable from the alternator to the block. I've had that break off before and left me stranded. So always a good idea while you're here to make sure everything's gonna be okay when you drive. Do you guys see that ground cable? That is exactly what I'm talking about. They just put some wire around it and tied it up with electrical tape so nobody would see it. Now I know this guy didn't do his own work, he took it to a mechanic, and the guy had cards, ooh, fancy glossy cards. Man, anyone can call themselves a mechanic and do crappy work. This is quickly turning into a bigger job. I actually found a lot of oil behind the timing cover. Gonna change some seals while we're at it. Filthy rear cover is gonna get cleaned up in the parts bin. Okay, our camshaft is removed. The oil is everywhere. Ugh. On LH 2.4, you don't need to time your distributor by rotating it counterclockwise or clockwise. It actually adjusts it automatically, which is kind of nice. And that's 1989 onwards. The seal that goes around that is the same size as the camshaft seal. So if you're ordering from the store, like I just went and made a couple errands and grabbed 2 camshaft seals because I know that that's going to be the second one I need there. I already had a front main seal. I don't have a paper seal. Uh-oh. For the cover, hopefully that's not too bad. I flushed the coolant hoses. I disconnected the thermostat and then I reconnected the housing so that I could hook that up to the hose. And then I flushed out the radiator from the top and let it drain off the bottom hose. There's also a little petcock in the back. I know it's a funny word. You can't see it, but it's, let's see, right there underneath the hose that goes right to the block. And especially being up on ramps like this, it helps to drain the back of the coolant area and passages in the engine. Also, you want to get a little bit of pressure to get through the heater core. Remember that the heater cores always run hot on these cars, and the 240 is ironically a cake to work on minus that, which requires you to remove the dashboard, and I fear that I'm going to have to do that job someday. So flush your coolant system regularly and keep it safe, or get a bypass valve so that you're not always running coolant, hot coolant, through your heater in the summer when you're not using heat. Which reminds me, I should probably be doing that too. But maybe later, a little bit later. However, on the P80 series, like the 99 V70 that I had, heater core is like a 30-minute job. It's incredible. All of this stuff is pretty filthy, and all of it's going to go to the parts washer to get cleaned up. Also, if there's any resistance or grinding sounds in your idler for the tensioner, then you're going to want to replace that. That's what it should look like. And that's what it does look like. It appears our water pump had a disagreement with the timing cover at some point. Ooh, sludgy. It's hard to say where something is leaking, and if you pull it off quickly enough, you can tell. The oil didn't reach most of that side. And then you get over here. Yeah. Looks like it got past the seal a little bit right here. So hopefully that helps a bit. On the later 240 models with the B230 engine, these rear caps tend to leak as well. You can see it's covered in oil past where it should be sealing. I actually drove a 240 and this cap fell out, which was scary. But you don't lose too much oil. There's not a lot of space after the camshaft there, but it still is a common place for leaks. IPD makes a plate that covers the back and bolts into the head to keep these retaining caps from falling out. But you could probably just make the same plate too. But if you don't want to, there's one available. M-cam comes out. T-cam goes in. See all that crap, all that deposit right there? It looks like melted plastic or just burned carbon. I'm willing to bet that they use Pennzoil on this engine, because Pennzoil is the only oil I've ever seen that will do this. So I'm going to treat it with Mobile One and seafoam it and hopefully get some of that out. Make it look good as new again. Pump on the left is OEM Volvo. Look at the impellers. The pump on the right. Look at the impellers. It's not OEM though, it's Duralast. Because, you know, the best product money can buy. Haha. But I don't see much difference in the impeller shape and design, which is the most important thing when choosing a pump. Of course, the bearing quality, etc. But I do say I went with the A1 Cardone quality on my 122 and it started overheating because the impellers were just a ridiculous tiny shape. But the fact that Duralast is mimicking Volvo is a very good sign. I kid you not, it's 5:30 in the morning. I just finally got the fan going and not even permanently wired because I'm still waiting on my attachments to arrive, but yeah, everything's put back together. Got the timing right on the first try, unlike other times, and everything looks good. And it's really late and I'm very, very tired. I don't normally do this, only when I have the next day off, which I happen to. So the fan's on and the switch is probably in the most strange spot ever. I won't tell you, but let's just say I turn it on before I get in the car. It's weird being up this late. I've seen a lot of weird things like mice, roaches, weird bugs that only come out at night, a lot of coyotes hunting, people going in and out of houses. Yeah, that's about it. Well, good night.